Do you know what Flamingo Gardens has? You guessed it, flamingos. And it's located off of Flamingo Road. The garden has a few animal species, and some are roaming wild, like the peacocks. Also, the occasional massive iguana. But let's start at the beginning. As you enter this garden, you're greeted by a tropical paradise, reminiscent of a tropical jungle. I was lucky enough to get a private tour, and during that tour, I went around the garden and learned all the interesting tidbits. The most impressive? This garden has approximately 15 champion trees. Champion trees means that the tree is the largest of its species in the state. The garden once had as many as 21 champion trees, but not all the trees survive every time a strong hurricane passes through the state. Look at this tree. Once a champion tree, the tree is still alive and growing, but much smaller than its original size. You can see the massive crack it's endured from passing hurricanes. Flamingo Gardens has the tallest ginger plants I've ever seen, not to mention the variety. But the sight that will stay in my memory when I think of this garden is the orchid display. Orchids are typically found growing in trees, and there are many to be found in Flamingo Gardens. But in this case, the orchids are attached to stakes and then planted in the ground. This rock and orchid garden is unlike any setup I've ever seen, and I adore it. Behind the orchid and rock garden is a small waterfall and river. Both would normally be a focal point in any garden, but in this garden, they take second place to the orchids. These tropical gardens are located by the entrance. If you dare to venture across the property, you can see the lake, butterfly garden, succulent garden, and cycad garden. The lake is large and relaxing, and the deck offers shade to the viewer. If you sit for a minute, you will hear several plops from the wildlife jumping in the water. Close by is the butterfly garden. The butterflies are raised in a butterfly house and eventually they are released. And what's right next to their house? A garden that can sustain them if they choose to stay, full of flowers that are commonly used in South Florida to support pollinators. The garden is working on adding a butterfly pavilion. And finally, the cycad garden, which features cycads from all over the world. Next to Flamingo Gardens is Zensations, a plant nursery which is just as zen as the name suggests. The owners took me around and I quickly realized that they had a keen eye for combining plants with art, which is how they accomplished the relaxing and vibrant look. Flamingo Gardens is a wonderful place to spend the day. It offers history, beauty, and sanctuary for the local wildlife. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.